Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for this third episode of The Candidate Experience. I'm your host, Yannick Audier. I'm the co founder of Video Jobs. We create media content that we integrate into job boards. It's an opportunity for employers to present themselves, the staff, and what they are doing on a daily basis. Through our experiences, we had the chance to meet amazing people, and which are making the professional world of work different, better. And we wanted to give them the opportunity to share with us their experiences, their successes, frustrations, but also their challenges from a personal and professional point of view. So today, we will talk with a young entrepreneur who could convince companies like Coop, Siemens, Autogrill, Schweizer Paraplegikerstiftung to add WhatsApp in their application system. So really challenging task nowadays, but WhatsApp sounds so obvious. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Manuel Buri.
Hey Yannick, hey everyone.
Thank you for joining us, Manuel. Really cool that you are here online with us today. I'm really excited to discover a bit on both sides of WhatsApp and everything, how it is working. Could you tell us first a bit what's your background, what you did, and how did you land it here in the end?
Hey, yes, absolutely. First of all, thanks so much, Yannick, for the introduction and for having me here today. Super excited to meet you and also all the participants. So I'm Manuel. I'm Swiss, born in in Lenzburg. I did a commercial apprenticeship at UBS. I worked there for a bit. In the end, almost 5 years. I then did the so-called passerelle. So basically, moving uh, from working to university, I enrolled in University of St. Gallen, studied economics, and also had first touch points with entrepreneurship while organizing the startup conference called Start Summit. By the way, it's next week for those that are interested in going. Yannick and I, we just talked about it. I also met my co-founder Patrick there, and afterwards I worked a bit in Berlin for a venture capital firm called Early Bird Venture Capital. I worked in strategy consulting with Carney, and then continued to work at Google. And after that, I originally wanted to do an informatics, so computer science apprenticeship, but kind of didn't end to do that. So it was my last chance to study computer science, and I did that at UCL in London afterwards, and then went on to build autonomous stores at Valora. And that's also my connection to blue collar recruiting, which we will talk today. So I'm super excited.
Very interesting and very challenging. You have been to different big cities and living there. You were also living in London where you were at your studies?
It's a very good question. I did move to London, but I never attended a lecture live because there was COVID. So ultimately, I just spent like 3 months there in my room, and then went back to Switzerland to continue the studies there. And it's also the time actually I founded the first company with Patrick called GoFlock. Was also in the HR tech space. We helped companies to return safely back to the office. So it
Okay.
was basically our first dip into entrepreneurship.
Okay, very interesting. So you took advantage of this COVID situation. Okay, I understand. So now, before we move forward, so we have many people that are watching us live, and so please interact with us, engage with us, ask your question. If you have some question when Manuel is talking, please just ask them, and it will be fun for all of us to learn also from you and what you experienced. So now I have the next question for you. We are talking about candidate experience. You also had a candidate experience before you joined Pasta HR. You said you work for several quite big companies. So how was your candidate experience for you, Manuel?
Yeah, I indeed. I my colleagues at PastaHR, they always say, yeah, Manu, he worked a bit everywhere, and I think one candidate experience that is super interesting because of several factors is the one at Google. I did an internship at Google. Not to brag, but just to the numbers are crazy. Like I think there's an acceptance rate lower than Harvard. However, in the end, it's just pure luck if you get picked. You have to really tune your CV, get it right, get a referral that you even get invited for the interview. I was super lucky that I got invited. And from then onwards, it was really interesting because I had one dedicated contact person. I met my hiring manager, had two meetings there. I got a lot of materials from Google. So they wanted me to really excel. So they kind of bet on the candidates they have in the hiring process and really want to make them perform well. I also then afterwards, all informations are gathered. There is a dossier created, and there's a hiring committee. So five random people within Google decide basically on your fate if you get to join the company. Exactly. They never met you before. And just based on the information they have, I think it's anonymized, of course, because I think that just makes sense. They decide basically if you get to join the company, and it's a single vote. So either you're in, and all five people say yes, or even if one person has doubt, you unfortunately can't join the company. And maybe one other thing, I worked at Valora. Valora, a very big company, 15,000 employees here in Switzerland. But then also I worked for Valora Digital, was a small subsidiary of Valora, 20 people when I joined. And there it was very much different because my hiring manager, Michi, he was very close in the process. He was calling me himself, like really trying to get the next interview, like helping me along the candidate journey. So I think it's really kind of both worlds. I think the structure of Google do not really make it fit for such a treatment as Michi had. But I must say, I definitely prefer that way. That's also what we do at PostHR. Like really get close to our candidates, try to make them feel special, and ultimately also convert them and convince them that it's right to join us.
Okay, yeah, quite interesting experience for sure. And yeah, I believe, I mean, if you are a 50,000 people company, but you can have the approach of SME or a 20 people department kind of, I think it's probably the best mix to involve people and engage with them. But then I believe it's also quite challenging to be able to follow up on all the people you want. But I believe that if there are people you really want to have part of the team, you will do a bit some extra steps.
Yeah, exactly, Yannick. So I think it was really nice that I had this dedicated hiring or like recruiting person that really took me by hand at Google, informed me about the different steps and stuff. But then also, you just mentioned it. I applied the second time at Google after my computer science studies, and I got a recommendation to hire after my internship, but I never heard back from Google.
Oh
So
wow.
they just ghosted me. I, of course, then also didn't try to pull all strings and maybe connect with different people to get some feedback, but I never heard back anything. So
That's
yeah,
crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, we everything can happen. I mean, in the hiring process, how we, as we can see. Now, maybe moving to the professional side, because I mean, for sure, you had a personal experience, several of those, and now you enter the professional side of the candidate experience. So, what motivated you? You probably wanted to bring some change.
yeah, it's a great question. I think it's two things. One is that at Valora, I was building autonomous stores, and autonomous stores, they only work not autonomous. They need persons that clean, fill up shelves, and all that stuff. And Valora was, it's 15,000 employees, around 500, so uh, less than uh, less than 10% really work in on a desk job. The rest is actually in the stores and everywhere. So Valora struggled quite a bit to attract those people. And what I then did is I joined a recruiter, really tried to understand the process, and suddenly I felt, hey, there is something off. So people have to apply using a CV. People had to write a motivational letter. People had to respond to emails and calls. So it was just not really target group friendly. And then at the same time, my long-term girlfriend Avitita, her parents, they are, so she's second generation, they're first generation immigrants from Kosovo here in Switzerland, and her parents, they speak German fairly well, but then also at the same time they struggle. And interestingly, when the parents of Avitita apply to a new job, basically the whole family helps. And I just thought, hey, that's not ideal. So those two things combined with a lot of research that Patrick and I did, looking at how companies here in Switzerland are doing it, basically led us to the conclusion that people who don't work in front of a computer are underserved. The processes, the tools, they're just not built for them. And in fact, it's a huge part of the global workforce. 80% of people are deskless. So blue collar and frontline, just not working in front of a computer as probably most of the participants today are doing. And then at the same time, you mentioned it also, hey, WhatsApp sounds obvious. 90% of young people in Switzerland use WhatsApp, and over 80% of adults use WhatsApp. So we thought, hey, let's bring the application process there where people are already. And it will have an impact. And I think we're gonna talk about this later. But that's basically how we came up with PastaHR in the first place, and really bringing things to WhatsApp in recruiting.
Wow. Okay. Very pragmatic approach, I would say. It makes totally sense. Yeah, but so now I believe, I mean, I have WhatsApp on my phone very clearly. I can use it in different groups and talking to my friends, sending emojis. But so how does it work? I mean, I am on a job board mostly, or am I on a website of a company and I'm interested in a job? So what happens next in order for me to land on WhatsApp, but also directly talking to this employer?
Yeah. So, long story short, basically, is you can enter the candidate experience or journey on different levels. But once you do, you mostly interact, like you scan a QR code, you press on a button, you press on a link, um, and then you get redirected to WhatsApp. Companies have their dedicated WhatsApp channel. It's always one to one, and first a chatbot takes over. So there's the option to ask a question because maybe you just want to ask if the job is available, if you could also work with 80% or something like that, or you have some other doubts. Or you can also directly start the application. So it's really about breaking down hurdles, but also make the employer more approachable. And after that first step, after the chatbot basically qualified you, once you applied, you get in direct contact with the company and recruiters. We also push applications in over 40 uh, application tracking systems. You mentioned it before. And ultimately, we also have our own web app, but also mobile app. So pastahr.com, where people can log in. And that's also where then after the application, because of course the process is not done then, people can chat with each other. So recruiter and candidate can then basically interact each other directly via WhatsApp. And we talk a lot about WhatsApp, which makes sense. It's our core product. By the way, we also have like different channels. We are just beta testing Instagram with Gold, a customer of us. Um, exactly.
Okay, yeah. I mean, very interesting also to be able to just start the discussion with the employer, not really only talking about application directly being ready, but being able to ask a question and lowering the hurdles. I think it's a really huge point, which will allow some people who don't really know about the position to ask question. So really, really cool. Now we were talking about WhatsApp. WhatsApp is Meta. How do you work with them? I mean, we know all those data protection and this kind of stuff. So, I mean, how is it working between you and Meta?
Yes, it's again a great question and something that's very important to cover. So first of all, companies are using PastaHR and not WhatsApp.
Okay.
So that's number one. And second of all, we are GDPR compliant, and we're also ISO 27001 certified, which makes it a lot easier, especially for enterprise customers to work with us. But then ultimately, how it works, we have a partner that helps us accessing the API of Meta, but that is not Meta, and that
Okay.
makes everything way easier. Then on the other hand, of course, we are dependent on Meta. This means that we also have contact with Meta, and we are also like officially a partner with them, so that they basically signed off what we are doing with WhatsApp, so that everything is fine in the end.
Okay, okay. Very interesting. Now, if we look at WhatsApp, I mean, everyone is on there. Are there some specific? I mean, are there some specific people that are applying to through WhatsApp, or some profiles, some generation, some age group that are more keen to apply through WhatsApp that you could already identify?
Yeah, I always love to draw the example of the family WhatsApp chat. And for example, in my situation, there is my I'm the youngest basically, and my grandma who's 85, she's the oldest. So and yeah, I like to say basically everyone is on WhatsApp. But then of course, it's just true that younger people are tend to be more on WhatsApp and also spend more time. People in Switzerland from 12 to 19, it's approximately 93% who use it on a weekly basis. While when you compare this number to all adults, it's 85%. So it's a bit less, but then at the same time, it's just significant. It's so much people. Basically, everyone uses it, and at the same time, we're gonna add more channels, more chat platforms to Pasta HR
Okay.
over the time, just to allow everyone basically to use it, and also basically let candidates choose their desired platforms to apply.
Okay, okay. Really interesting. So now imagine I am applying through WhatsApp to different companies. So it will just open different chat with different companies.
Yeah, that's
More or less.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's also not through a Pasta HR chat or so. it's basically always through, for example, Go or Siemens or Autogrill channel. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Really good. So now you had the opportunity to also test a bit with out there in the jungle, and there are probably employers who are listening to us, and that they want to modernize or add a channel for them to give them the opportunity to reach maybe a few more people or to present themselves a bit differently. So what would you say? What do employers say that are using your product, and yeah, what do they see for advantages?
Yeah. So first of all, there's three things. Number one is that we increase the number of qualified applications. The second thing is that we just shorten the time to hire. And the third thing is that we increase the employer brand in general. And maybe I can quickly go into those three things. Um, we generate more qualified applications just because it's easier to apply. We lower the hurdle, we make it easier, we bring it to a media where people already are. But also, when you start an application, you have an automatic retargeting function built in PastaHR. That means, unlike a normal HTML form or just application form, we have the mobile number and the direct chat relationship to people. So basically, when they stop applying, we can just simply send another message. Hey, you wanted to apply, please continue. And
Mm,
nowadays, with all the short attention span, that's something that is really powerful. The shorten of time to hire. That's basically just due to the fact that people don't really read emails. And yeah, given or not, it's just the fact that even though when you applied, you mostly applied to several roles, you're not constantly checking your emails. You're also maybe, I mean, imagine a nurse. She or he
mm,
may be working late night and cannot pick up a phone during the
mm,
day, and it's really when you send someone a WhatsApp message, you reach them where their friends are. So it's not only a special relationship you can build as a brand, but it's also a way to speed up things. And the third thing that I mentioned, the increase of employer brand, that obviously depends on a lot of factors. But what we see is that candidates like it to have the option to apply via WhatsApp. Sometimes they don't even do that in the end, but they
mm,
like it. But generally, I think the most important one is that we increase applications by like 20 to 40%. It depends a bit on the company and also how you, of course, present it, how actively or proactively you do that. But in general, there's like those three factors that are very interesting.
okay, yeah, yeah, I can totally imagine. I mean, I see, for example, apply and apply through WhatsApp, and I would say, okay, this company is like quite modern or it's quite kind of a new thing. So I would say, okay, so it's probably also the way they are thinking and going forward and moving through things in the company on a daily basis. So yeah, I can imagine, even if I would probably maybe just go through the normal process because I have my CV on my computer and I don't want to go back and forth. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very important to distinguish there again with the target group. So most of the people that apply through Pasta HR, they first of all they don't even need a CV, so we make it optional. And it's also funny because it's kind of also a bit of digital transformation that we do within companies or within recruitment departments that they get rid of CVs, and it's really refreshing to see that they start adapting to that because ultimately it's about skills, right? And then, as I said, we focus a lot on deskless workers. Of course, Past HR really works for all kind of jobs, but we just see that when you apply it to a certain target group, especially young people or people not working in front of the computer, you really leverage the candidate experience by a factor 5 to 10. While when you do it for, I don't know, software engineers, it's nice to have kind of, but it's then also like, is it really necessary? The
Hmm.
target group just acts a bit differently.
Okay, yeah, no, totally understand. So now, if we go on the other side and go on the candidate side, so what do you hear from the candidates? I mean, do you have some contact with candidates?
Well, simply put, they love it.
I
But
mean,
let me
unless when you send them the reminder to apply, but do you have another contact?
fair point. Yeah, so in short, they love it, but no, we have a bit more data, and that's really interesting because a lot of companies struggle to get insights on how their candidates move through the application process. So what we did very early on is asking people how they liked the experience. And of course, not everyone is filling it out, but actually, a lot, over 50% are filling it out. And 94% say, hey, the experience with you guys, with PastaHR, it's just very easy and very fast for me. And at the same time, what is very important is that it's not just easy for the candidate. I know we're talking about candidates now, but it's also easy for recruiters, and I think that's very cool. So we get new insights there, and I think something else is really that we can ultimately say, when you, Yannick, apply for a job, let's say via Instagram, so you saw like a reel and then applied, and I did it over the normal job description, we can basically end to end track that. So I can at the end say, hey, did you get the job or did you really finish the job application? And that's another insight that we actually create for companies. They just don't have, I mean, we
Mm.
2024, but it's a fact that a lot of companies struggle with that insight.
Yeah, totally. I can totally imagine as you are a company, an employer, you try to place your jobs a bit everywhere and to be able to see a bit where comes from where and who finished the process. I think is really, really relevant. So now, I mean, going a bit in this direction, how do you see also this relationship evolve and the future? Because you are on social media, you are saying that you are in a beta version on Instagram. So how do you see it moving forward?
Yeah, so I think in general, companies have to step up their game a lot and will need to increase their work they do and their investment in recruiting. I think, first of all, a lot the candidate will be empowered more, but also everything will get more data driven. And just to make an example, for example, what we do is really this end to end tracking is kind of very interesting. So, for example, when you do social media recruiting, it's really hard to adapt your spending to different platforms. So what we found is that it's really appreciated by companies that we help them allocate budgets for social media recruiting, tell them which channels are actually not only generating applications but also generating successful candidates that get hired in the candidate journey. I think that's something which is really interesting and will just basically be more and more over the next years.
Okay, have you got a specific example of a specific channel that you would recommend for a specific profile file that we're looking for?
Uh,
I mean,
yeah, we do. So, but I would say I won't spoil all the secrets here.
okay, so we will be able to. I mean, best is to have a call with you to ask this question.
I think so too. No, I think there's special occasions, but what in general social media channels work well. But as said, hey, reach out and happy to tell more which specific are working quite well for which
Yeah.
target.
Okay. No, very, very interesting. I mean, for sure. I believe that, I mean, now is the targeting we can have, plus adding this new dimension of being able to apply through WhatsApp. It makes the process really totally different than what our parents lived. I mean, it's like it's so different. It's incredible.
It
So
really.
so now I would like to move to the Q&A. I mean, if you are listening, if you are watching live or maybe later in replay, please ask your question if you have something specific to ask. I have the first question coming from YouTube, and the question is, do we need our own phone
So
in order to reply, I
yeah,
guess?
exactly. I assume people want to know that exactly. So no, you don't. You basically everything in PastaHR is cloud based. So you have your own account. You can log in through the web browser. We also have a mobile phone, a mobile app that you
Mm,
can use on the mobile phone, and that's basically how companies are using us. But also, when you're using it on the smartphone, you're not using WhatsApp. You're using PastaHR.
Okay, so you can really have your friends, Fritz and so on, those funny discussions, and you don't mix them. So
Exactly.
that's really good. Okay, no, really good. I mean, for me, I don't see any further question coming from the chat. Yeah, for me, really interesting way of applying for sure. I believe that it's always being able to add your link and your application possibilities. I mean, you are probably giving also to the employers kind of a button to integrate in their website or something like that in order for them to be able to place it everywhere, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So basically, most common things are buttons, links. We also use QR codes. We
Okay.
also have our own career site widget that you
Okay.
can use, like a JavaScript snippet.
Okay.
For those that don't know what it is, it's just something that is really easy to implement. It takes 10 minutes for your website agency. And of course, it also works on job platforms, past HR. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So really great for me. I think we will stop around here for now for today. But I think it was really insightful. I first of all, congrats for this initiative. I mean, I think it will help many people, and especially as you say, deskless workers who want an easy way to communicate with future employers. So thank you very much for doing it, also for the community, and for all your efforts. I know how hard it is to be here in front and trying to make things different. I mean, for me, it sounds so obvious, but I mean, you probably had to convince many people that it is obvious.
That's indeed, yeah. And also at this point, hey, thanks so much, Yannick, for inviting me. It was a real pleasure being here today. Also to the participants, thanks so much for spending your lunchtime with us. It's much appreciated. Um, and yeah,
Thank,
reach out if you're interested in past HR. I would say.
Yes, perfect. So thank you. So before we sign off, I would like to welcome you to still add your comments, get in touch with us if you have some further questions, some remarks, some stuff that you want to ask. We will have our next guest, which is Cristiano Rossi from Two Jobs. He will be talking about social media recruiting, but then we will be directly on the different social media platforms. And this will be the Friday, 5th of April at 3 o'clock. And he's our next guest. So I think now we have almost covered everything. Manuel, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you a beautiful afternoon.
Thank you, Yannick. Same to you.